What's up, guys? Welcome. Well, I was going to say welcome back, but welcome to Babe and the Braids podcast. I'm Allison, the Babe.
And I'm Isaac, the Braids.
Welcome to our first official podcast. This is kind of weird.
I think I'm just more of a permanent guest.
I
think this is an Alley thing, and I think
in the future I can eventually kick you off and find a different word starting with B.
That's disrespectful. I do have a quick question. Do you think that, like, when you're talking to this, when you hit record, do you now feel like you're talking to like 5,620 people?
I'm so glad you asked. I actually, in my head, am envisioning thousands of people just sitting and listening to my voice. That's what I think.
No, but I'm saying, like, you feel different when you hit record. Like, if we were sitting here for 40 minutes talking, the minute we hit record, I feel like I'm talking to people.
Oh, 100%. If that red light was not on, I would be like, all right, Isaac, so are we going to record this thing?
So we have a series of sound bites that we're not really going to use. Crickets.
I think they get it, Isaac. You don't have to play all of them.
All right.
Are we just going to leave that in the background?
It doesn't go for that long. This is the danger of podcasts, though, because I feel like in this first episode, we don't have a topic.
Well, we don't need a topic. I think the reason we're even making this first episode is so we can introduce our podcast and tell all of those thousands of people that are in my head that we are here for a specific reason and to why they should listen in every week.
All right, introduce them. Why? What is the point of the podcast? Because I'm personally pretty excited about it.
I mean, I guess the point of the podcast is to talk about relationships in general.
Okay. And
what relationships come with. And the reason I think Isaac and I have a place to even begin talking about relationships is because, I mean, our background and our history with our relationship. So we can give you guys a quick background as to who we are and why I think we're so qualified, right?
Well, I feel like we should just start off on this first podcast, other than what you just said, just telling the folks how we met.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea. Also, I can give a quick little overview. Isaac is the Braids. He's the one that is not this voice. And Isaac and I have been dating for almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in December. And
there was an applause one.
Oh.
I don't know. I think I deleted it by accident, but it'd be a perfect time for the applause.
So in December, we will be...
My man is looking directly down here.
Isaac, stop. Don't mess up the podcast.
For the people listening, there's a guy in our apartment complex who is, when I tell you currently daggers at me, he almost looks confused. Like, why are they recording something with headphones on? Oh my gosh. This is perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're pranking her sister.
Okay. All right, guys. So a little interruption there, but we are actually pranking my sister for our first official episode. I consider this more of like an intro. So the first episode, which will be up next week, you guys can expect a juicy prank because we just got off the phone with my sister and it's getting juicy.
I think we both kind of forgot about the prank too. Like, we started recording the podcast and forgot about it. Then she called and we're like, oh my gosh, all right, good. Answer.
Yeah. So,
wait, who just texted you?
My mom just texted my family. Okay, she's. If she calls me, we'll just cut out again. But we're trying to run two.
What did your dad respond to that? We're getting distracted. Okay. She just got a picture of her dog Cash, who lives back home, and that's why you don't look at phones during podcasts.
Yeah, that's exactly why, Isaac. So, we kind of lost track of where we were because we ended up doing this prank. But again, you guys can go and hear about that prank in the next podcast. But as for this podcast episode, we are going to be introing what this podcast is about. And we briefly touched on it. We are going to be talking about relationships in our podcast and just other things that relationships encounter. And the reason Isaac and I are so qualified is because basically our backgrounds, we're just a very diverse couple. We've been through some stuff in our 5 years of dating. So we just feel that we can really get into the juicy of relationships.
Juicy.
Okay, we need to find a juicy button on our podcast board. But
Juice. There's a Chance the Rapper song, Juice. But yeah, I think the thing is, I'm black, she's white. I'm actually interracial, but so I'm mixed, she's white. We're from two totally different parts of the world. We are from two totally different religious backgrounds. Mm-hmm. We have done long distance. We
started dating in college.
We told ourselves we'd never move in together, and then moved in
before
together.
marriage. Yeah. So
we've also been dating 5 years almost, and we're still not married.
you're
speaking of the prank,
you're also in the NFL, which
I'm also in the NFL. Allie is a top designer in Los Angeles.
So now we're
Turn
just
up.
so
Gang,
now
gang,
we're
gang,
just
gang, gang.
giving me
claps?
a status.
Oh no, the people didn't care. They gave you crickets.
Oh.
So we're not gonna get distracted, but there's a lot that goes into it. We just think that we might be able to just relate to somebody, and I hope we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there are tons of people out there, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, I have a YouTube channel. I don't have this huge, intense following on my YouTube channel, but I do have a little following there. And
5,620. Continue.
Oh, did you check?
That's
I think it's 5,640. Anyways, but the reason that I thought this would be good and that relationship would be kind of where we have our podcast coming from is because I've had girls reach out to me from college and high school that have just kind of touched on me and Isaac in our relationship, just because I feel like we have a bit of a unique relationship. Isaac is distracting me by going on his computer, and he needs to
continue. Yeah, 5,640. But we have a unique relationship, and like she said, I think a lot of people will be interested in hearing more about it. I think a good way to start it would just be to explain how we met thoroughly in the dirty details and the juicy juice.
The juicy juice.
So let me back up from the mic. So when I met Allie, I had just broken up with my ex a few months before.
Whoa. You are starting in the middle of the story. We got to give a little background, Isaac.
We got to take them into the juicy juice.
We do need a little juice noise, because I think if we're going to use that word enough, we need a little noise for that.
Should we pause it and go get a juice noise and come back?
No, we will edit it in later, Isaac.
Okay.
So we're going to quickly give a little background. So I am from northern U.S. So I'm from Michigan, not really a small town. Actually, Isaac's the one from the small town. So I am from Michigan, and I grew up, I am white, by the way, for those of you who are not watching a video and who are only listening. I am a white blonde, and I grew up in the suburbs of Michigan in a great little city called Shelby Township. Shout out to Shelby Township, gotta represent. And I had a pretty great upbringing. I lived in a normal neighborhood. I grew up Catholic. I went to a Catholic school for a big portion of my life, and then ended up going to public school, but stayed a Catholic, went to church every Sunday, and then I ended up going to Michigan State. So that's my background.
Okay, so that was nice, Al.
Thank you.
My background is pretty much everything opposite. I mean, she was in like a little suburb. I was in a country suburb of Atlanta. I had 5,000 people in my town, and I grew up on what a lot of people would consider a farm. For me, it was not really a farm because I was so used to people around me being countryer than I was. But, we had cows, goats, pigs, all that, and went to a extremely conservative high school.
Very, very conservative.
And I remember, like, as an example, if you got detention, you had to copy the handbook. And in one of the sections of the handbook, if you went to rated R movies or to secular, meaning non-Christian or non-religious concerts, you could get suspended. Wait,
why were you in detention?
I was a big talker, big time talker.
Okay.
And a bubblegum chewer.
You went to detention for bubblegum? Wow. I mean, if that doesn't say strict, I don't know what does.
I mean, it is crazy strict. So, yeah, and I met a girl at my high school.
Who was not me.
that I really, really liked at the time. And we ended up dating for 4.5 years.
Yep. So you started dating her what year of, I don't want to make the whole podcast about her, but what year did you start dating her in high school?
I started dating her in 2010.
Okay. So you were about 10th grade.
I was in 10th grade.
Okay.
So we're going to, again, it's not about her. So we dated for 4 years, and I ended up breaking up with her.
Okay, hold on.
She keeps stopping the story. I'm trying to get you guys to the juicy juice.
I know. I'm just trying to tell the story in the best way possible. So Isaac ended up going to Notre Dame University up in Indiana, and he's from Georgia. So that was, oh, and there's my cat crying. Grace, we're filming a podcast. Can you not interrupt us? Thank you. So Isaac ended up going to the University of Notre Dame, and that was a bit far. Grace, we're filming. That was a bit far, so Isaac and his girlfriend at the time ended up doing long distance. Now you can go ahead because you never said Notre Dame, and the listeners want to know where you went to school.
Okay, if the listeners are real, they know. I'm joking. We might have some random new listeners. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to our first ever podcast. Isaac, what?
So ended up breaking up with her. It was a nice little 4-year run, but it wasn't, we just didn't work out. We weren't compatible. And so months later, I met Allie. And just to give you guys some context, because I went to such a conservative high school, at the time, I didn't drink. I didn't really go out. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. And I remember having to host guys who were coming to visit Notre Dame. So I was like, all right, I got to take these guys out to do something.
For those of you who have no background as to Isaac at all, Isaac played football at Notre Dame. And so he had some people, he had like potential, what do you call them?
Recruits, like people that were going to sign with Notre Dame. So they give them to current players to just experience the school, nightlife, fill in the blank, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So had some recruits, took them out, went to the first party that I had been to since, I awkwardly went to one when I was a freshman. I missed my whole freshman year of that, but that's a whole nother story. And there was Miss Allison. I saw this super tall, pretty white girl who had a crop top on and Timberlands.
I was wearing a crop top and Timbs. If that doesn't say Michigan girl, I don't know what does.
And I was in a weird phase where I was really big into flannels and Timbs too.
I think I had a flannel tied around my waist, if I'm not mistaken.
You didn't. So
okay.
It was kind of like, I haven't seen anybody with Timbs in a while, and here this beautiful white girl is wearing Timbs. Wasn't overly in the mood to go spit game because, I had that game. I had that juice.
Isaac had absolutely zero game, and you will see when we explain how we ended up talking to each other.
So, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so hold on. Let me give my little background. So I did not go to Notre Dame for college. I actually went to Michigan State for college, but my sister was dating Ronnie Stanley, who played football for...
Shout out to Big Ron.
Yep, shout out Ronnie. So my sister was dating Ronnie for about 2 years at that point. So me and Ronnie were pretty close. He was like my older brother. So my sister ended up going to Notre Dame after finals. So this is in December. So finals in college had just ended, and I had a really stressful finals week that year. So my sister ended up asking me, hey, do you want to just go and relieve some stress? I'm going to Notre Dame. It'll be fun. Notre Dame is about 2.5 hours from Michigan State. So, of course, I said yes. And, years later, I'm so glad I did. So,
because here we are.
Yep, here we are. Oh.
So, for the watchers, Allie and I have a little piece of paper out here to pass each other notes.
Isaac's telling me to keep this under 30 minutes. So let me go ahead and hurry up and fast forward.
If you heard that, I want you to comment or hit us up and let us know if you see a podcast that's more than 30 minutes, are you intimidated by that, and keep scrolling because I'm curious. So we're both at this party.
So I ended up, going to Notre Dame, and I'm not sure if it was a Friday night, doesn't really matter, but
Saturday night.
I ended up asking my sister, hey, do you want to go out to a party? And she said no, that her and her boyfriend weren't really feeling it, but my sister's boyfriend's roommates were. So I ended up going to a house party with two of these dudes who I knew them, but I just ended up tagging along and was hoping that I would meet
Isaac.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I was hoping I was going to meet my soulmate. So I ended
Dang, that's terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
I'm joking.
So I ended up going to this house party. Now we can resume.
So she's at this house party. You already heard she's looking good. She's got these Teams on. And my friend was next to her talking to her. And he was like, yo, Isaac, you want to come over here and take a shot? In my mind, I'm like, all right, this could be my chance. So I walk over there and I say, you know what? I don't really like shots, Dev. And I knew he was just trying to call me out. So I'm like, I don't really like shots. And then Allie looks at me and she goes, well, why don't you have a beer with me?
No, actually, that is wrong. I looked at you and I said, take a shot with me. And then you told me I don't take shots. And I said, okay, have a beer.
I mean,
I have to tell the people that you declined my shot.
It's a different time now. So it's sitting here having this beer with this random girl who has Tim's on and a crop top.
So now I'm random.
And at the time, no doubt. And we don't need to make this too long-winded, but we sat there and we had about an hour and a half conversation about random things, about love, about past relationships, about our experiences. We basically had a podcast there that you guys would have loved to listen to.
I know. I wish I could take that part of our speech, our conversation, and put that into a podcast. That would be interesting to listen to.
I'd probably be such an awkward turtle.
Oh, yeah, you definitely were a little awkward. But so I just want to give a little clarification. I did know of Isaac, but I had never met him up until this point. So Isaac's ex-girlfriend and my sister were friends just because they dated guys in the same football team. So I knew of Isaac, but I had never spoken to him. I did think he was extremely cute. So I do want to make that known.
So we were sitting there talking for 2 hours, and we exchanged numbers. And when I say we exchanged numbers, you can
let
explain.
me go ahead and get in on this.
Go ahead, big dog.
So it came up in conversation that my sister was Emily, and he briefly knew my sister, as I mentioned earlier. So he was like, oh, like if you're ever down here again and you don't want to be the third wheel, like just give me a text and we can hang out. Like I can show you around campus. I can do this. Like we can go get coffee, whatever. So immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. And I do want to just make a little note that when I saw Isaac, I was instantly like crushing hard for him.
Aww.
I know we should have a little noise, but anyways,
I need to write these down.
So a juice noise and an aw noise. Anyways, so Isaac, he ended up taking my number. He said, okay, here's my phone and just put your number in there and then whatever. So then it came about time where Isaac and the people he was with wanted to leave. So he gave me a hug goodbye. He told me how great it was talking to me. And then he said the dreaded phrase, give me a call next time you're here. Now, I do want to remind you guys that Isaac took my number and I did not have his number. So when he said, give me a call.
I mean, as soon as it happened, I was leaving and I was like, wait, she doesn't have my number. You also got an attitude with me.
Yes, that's what I was waiting for you to say. So when he said, yeah, just give me a call next time you're in town, I said, okay. And I walked away. Because what guy? Yeah, what guy asked for a girl's number and then says, okay, give me a call? Sir, did you forget the moment where you didn't give me your number?
I mean, that's the first impression that she chose to leave, was getting an attitude with me. Shaking my head.
5 years later, has anything changed?
Definitely not.
Thank you.
It's terrifying. So I'm trying to include these little sound bites every once in a while. So I leave. I remember going up to my friend Cole Luke, and I remember saying, like, bro, I just broed it out with this girl, and she kind of got an attitude with me at the end of the night, and I think I just blew the whole thing. But I left my case of beer in the crib, and so I went back in. I mean, this is college; you're not wasting not a single beer.
Come on.
So I went back in there, got my case of beer, and I remember we talked, and I felt better about everything. leaving the second time.
Oh, did you?
And I remember, this is kind of unnecessary details. Me, Cole Luke, and Austin Larkin went back to the crib. We ordered pizza, and I remember we had another drink, and I remember telling them, like, bro, like, I just met this girl, and this girl was unreal. I also remember the next day sitting there with Durham Smythe, who plays for Miami. Shout out Durham Smythe. Austin Larkin plays for the Falcons, and Cole Luke plays for the Panthers. So that's a nice lineup of NFL guys.
Wow.
I remember Durham being like, Durham, should I text this girl? And he's like, yeah, bro, just go ahead and text her. Just go ahead and shoot your shot. I don't even remember what I said.
Oh, hold on, because I know exactly what happened.
No, I know what you're going to say, and that was not, well, go ahead.
No, it was. I'm right.
Go ahead.
So the next day, so after that whole situation happened and he ended up leaving, I went back to my sister's boyfriend's apartment where I was staying, and I sent my mom a text and I said, oh my gosh, I met this guy. And then my sister ended up telling me that he had a truck. And when I was growing up, I always thought my Prince Charming would drive a truck. So I was like, okay, this is it. I found him. So went to sleep. And then the next day I was kind of waiting for a text. Again, I did not have his number, so I could not send him a text.
But I know what you did.
Uh-huh.
So this is where we get a little bit millennial and basic.
Millennial and basic. My bread and butter. So I went ahead
Shouldn't be proud of that, but continue.
Went ahead and I found this man on good old Instagram.
IG, turn up. Gang, 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 gang.
So I found this man on Instagram and I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow him because I'm not letting this man slip away. So I went ahead and I followed him. And you know what? Not even 5 minutes later.
Well, I was waiting.
He followed me back. And not only did he follow me back, but he liked.
I double tapped.
3 of my photos.
I tapped that. That has nothing to do with it, but I had to click it.
So he double tapped 3 of my photos.
Call it what it is. He tapped that.
Whoa. Not so soon, Isaac.
Oh my gosh. Well, they can't hear the kids crying outside, but so I tapped that, and
he did not tap that, but he did tap the picture.
So I tapped that picture, and then that turned into your classic Instagram exchange of tapping pictures and tapping
I had to up him, and I ended up liking 6 of his photos.
So then that's when I texted you. Mm-hmm. I do remember at that point having the conversation with her. I'm like, all right, because I'd been asking him, and I'm like, all right, she's liking my photos, like, let's make moves. So she texts me, I text her, we exchange these texts, da-da-da-da. I'm studying for my Spanish exam at the time.
I'm like, Spanish.
And she was like, well, she had asked me, like, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, I'm studying for my Spanish exam. And she's like, well, if you get done with that early, like, let's go do something tonight. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to go to Starbucks, and that was kind of that. So we knew we were going to go on a date.
We can talk about our first date.
That'll be another podcast.
Time. Yeah. But so honestly, we went on the first date, and it was kind of history. I mean, we
went to Starbucks and closed it down.
Mm-hmm. We stayed there literally 2 hours after it closed.
You don't remember what you got, though?
I think it was a caramel macchiato, if I'm not mistaken.
I got a caramel macchiato.
I think I might have gotten a caramel apple spice. You know what you got. Was there a caramel apple spice?
Boy, you got that pumpkin spice. It's terrifying. All right.
So that is how we met. And now, 5 years later, here we are today, sitting in our California apartment. How crazy is that? We went from South Bend, Indiana to Huntington Beach, California. And if that's not a glow up, I don't know what is.
Wow. A little self-suck there, but it's all good. So it's been a nice little road. And
I think... So going back as to why we even started this podcast in the first place, I just think we've been through so many different things, and we can really give an insight into, if something that you guys might be going through in your relationship. And I will say we are not perfect in any way, shape, or form. Every relationship does have its struggles.
She's perfect. And I'm terrifying. All right, I'm really done.
No, but I'm not claiming to be perfect. And on the outside, we may look like we have this, perfect relationship. But every relationship has its own problems. Everybody fights. And I would be lying if I didn't say, there were some tough times in our relationship. But I think that's what makes us. And I'm proud of what we have, and I love every part of it. And I just want to give other couples, insight into how we've dealt with certain situations, such as religion, interracial, stuff like that. So that's why we wanted to start this podcast. Also, podcasts are super fun. So who doesn't want to start a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it all. I think we're excited to be here. We're excited to engage. We are excited to, like she said, have a podcast.
Yeah. So if you guys like this podcast and like where we're heading with it, and you have any recommendations as to videos you guys want to hear about, dating a college athlete, interracial, how Isaac is mixed and I'm white, how we deal with that, maybe religion, just relationship stuff in general. If you guys want to know more about us and hear more from us, just let us know. I don't really know. You know what? I don't know too much about podcasts. Where can they leave us information?
I think it's just simple. I think it's continue to follow what we're doing. I think you can find both of us on YouTube
and Instagram
because we post these on YouTube. So you can check out Allison K or Isaac Rochelle, our channels to find these. And I think it's just continue to engage. Don't be scared to comment, like, subscribe, and let's make moves.
Yeah, also get super excited for the next episode because in the next episode, we are pranking my sister and I am telling her I found an engagement ring. And that's where I'm going to leave it at that.
See you guys later.